Another year draws to a close on America's most sequeliest podcast. I didn't think that through ahead of
America's
time.
best podcast.
America's best podcast. Fuck it.
Best podcast of 2022.
The best podcast of 2022. I'm the 2020 fool, Matisse Van Rossum.
I'm the best podcaster of 2022, Ben Sheets.
Yeah, we did really plan names for this one. I just got to throw that in there. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess I'm somehow both the father time and the baby in one horrific package. Hi, it's me, Cleveland Mosier.
The old baby.
That's me.
Old man baby Cleveland.
Old man. No, probably shouldn't be able to. Probably shouldn't.
Well, well, it's that time of year again. It's our year in review. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. We're going to talk about our bottom 5 films of the year, our top 5 films of the year, and then we'll do our annual Poddy Awards of categories that Ben has put together for us. We got a lot to talk about. So I say let's not waste any fucking time. Let's jump right into it.
So let's go 5-1.
Yes.
And if we have any repeats, we'll just talk about it whenever it comes up first.
Yeah. In the interest of keeping things moving, let's try to keep our explanations for why these films are in our lists brief. If you want more details, you can go back and listen to the episodes where we talked about them. But we're going to start off with our bottom 5 films of 2022. Who wants to start?
I'll start. So at number 5 on my list is Shut In. Not even Vinnie Gallo could save this faith-based horror movie. You know, this lo-fi, low-budget thriller movie.
Daily Wire produced.
Yes, from being pretty mediocre to bad.
Produced by baby boy Ben Shabibo.
My 6th was Shut In. I had a little shout out for it, so I figured I'd add that.
Nice.
Whatever the opposite of a shout out.
Yeah. A shut in.
Yeah,
a shut in. There you go. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good. A shut out. Shut it out. Shut out. Shut in. Get it out of here. I put it's my 6th because it's a little bit too forgettable. I thought, normally like being forgettable is almost more of a sin, but like these other 5 like pained me. Like the hurt was so bad, I had to do it. My 5th is going to be Don't Worry, Darling. It sucks, and it could have been with just some tweaks, and without all the production bullshit, I think there could have been, like, a solid movie here that I would have enjoyed. I think the premise is rad, and it's a hot bummer, so I think...
And you watched a second time recently, didn't you?
I have seen them... Well, what's really unfortunate is I have seen every movie on my worst list twice.
Jesus
Christ, that's terrible.
This has just been a pain year for me, like... So many of these...
That's just masochistic.
It is masochistic. The reason for it is, like, working in the industry, I'm often terrified of my own shit or the projects that I'm working on being terrible, and so I find these awful movies that are total fucking shit stinker bombers fascinating. I find them fascinating because I want to know, like, okay, well, what makes them bad? And sometimes it can really help to, like, talk that out and to share that poison and pain with someone else. So I never alone. I haven't watched any of these movies like on my own being like, I hate myself, I'm gonna watch fucking Don't Worry Darling again. But it's always like, you guys need to see how bad this movie is. And like, then we can talk about it and make fun of it, usually while I'm painting or doing something
else. I would just tell them to go watch it and then come back and discuss. Mm-hmm. But, okay, anyway, my number 5 is actually the only film on either of my lists that we did not cover on the podcast. My number 5 is the American remake of Goodnight Mommy that Amazon put out this year. Absolute fucking garbage. One of the most pointless remakes I've ever seen. It was pretty much note for note the original film, but worse. Not even Naomi Watts could deliver a performance strong enough to make me enjoy it. And in fact, it was so bad that the twist at the end of the film that I had forgotten and enjoyed in the original was done so poorly in this movie that I thought that they had made it up for the remake. So
what's up with Naomi Watts doing so many like almost shot-for-shot remakes? Between that and, like, Funny Games?
Yeah, well, except Funny Games, the remake is good.
Yeah.
because it was done by the same filmmaker, just in English. But yeah, that's a good question. She should stop it.
I was Goodnight Mommy curious, but I didn't check it out because...
Don't waste your time. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
It really is.
Especially after hearing that, I'm not in a rush. Well,
Right.
my number 4 is Firestarter.
Cheers.
You know, Flaming Baby aside, it was very bad overall. The CG was bad. The story was trite and forgettable. The acting was pretty awful.
Cleve?
Also Firestarter.
Nice.
Yeah. It sucked. I didn't like it. Soundtrack's great. Doesn't fit the movie at all. More on that later.
Firestarter was actually my number 6, so it didn't quite make it into my
You're
my
in,
bottom
shut
5. Well, Shut In is actually my number 4.
Oh.
Yeah, you were totally right. Like, it's so fucking forgettable. All I really remember is that Vincent Gallo is a creepy pedophile, and a woman spends most of the movie locked in a pantry until she's redeemed by Jesus or something like that.
Wine Mom horror.
Yeah, really. Wine Mom horror with like a fucking Hallmark aesthetic and budget. Wine Mom horror for the conservative suburban white lady.
I mean, shout out to Wine Moms. You know, let's go, but not this movie.
I guess. I don't think this is a Wine Mom podcast. I
Yeah.
don't think we got to pander to the Wine Moms.
I'm not pandering. I'm just doing. You know, I got a little love for the Wine Mom. I got a little love. You know.
Well, Ben, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me, this is a weird year because there were a lot of great movies, but I think this is the first year where I've had 3 half-star movies that we covered for the podcast. The first of them is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 2022. The millennialism of this movie was just fucking insufferable.
Barf. Oh.
And talk about a fucking god-awful script. Complete desecration of a franchise that has a couple of good movies in it.
You didn't like Elderly Leatherface?
No, not at all.
I didn't either. I didn't either so much that it's also mine.
Oh,
Once
nice.
again, birds of a feather fart together.
Y'all are in alignment.
So the Texas is also me. For all the same reasons. But in particular, the end. The end of that movie is an affront.
Oh man, I almost forgot about the ending when
the worst part.
the self-driving car is driving her away.
Oh my god, I did forget about
Yeah.
that. Holy
The
shit.
self-driving car is driving her away as Leatherface does the same dance from the original movie, but without the context, so it doesn't really make sense that he's dancing. He's just doing it as a reference, which is weird because it's Leatherface. And Leatherface doesn't really strike me as someone who's self-referential. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I hate that movie. Yeah.
Well, my number 3 is Morbius drinking a Forbius. A film that we all knew was going to be dog shit, but I don't think we fully prepared ourselves for just what a ridiculous, convoluted mess it was. Terrible performance from Jared Leto, confusing fucking script, really weird Matt Smith casting, even though he's the best part of the movie, and then does that the sexy dance. Have sex!
Your pants cook your spam to spam.
Yeah, exactly.
Sex.
That was
Morbius was actually my number 2.
Nice.
Would you stop?
Memes aside,
Would you stop picking
it's
that
also
as my
on your
list?
number 2.
Did you
Well,
read my list?
I guess your number 1 is probably the same too.
Well, what's funny too?
I think we probably all have the same number 1.
I almost in the last second switched Morbius and Texas, but I decided to go ahead and go with it because you had also picked it in solidarity. So just fuck both of y'all.
Yeah.
We're just an echo chamber. We're
Memes
just proving
aside from Morbius, like the memes couldn't even save it, and
No.
that's what a sign of a
the
terrible movie.
the Morbin Time meme was funny, and
it.
also
The culture around it was
also,
fun.
what was really the funniest part about it is that the It's Morbin Time meme got so big that it tricked Sony into thinking that it meant that people actually enjoyed the movie, so they re-released it in theaters again, and it bombed even harder the second time than it did the first time.
So we're seeing Morbius too, right?
Are
If
we
it
gonna get
actually
a?
happens.
I don't.
It is. There's. No
I don't
doubt.
know, man.
I
I feel like they. I feel like they lost
We'll-
money on Morbius.
We'll see if the studios have sex.
What they'll do. I don't know if we'll
They're
get a
so cheap to
Morbius.
begin with.
I don't know if we'll get a Morbius 2, but they will for sure throw him into like the next Venom movie or something.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that's There'll be some crossover. Craven the Hunter or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
The other also note is fuck Jared Leto and his weird private cult island.
Yeah, his weird.
Yeah.
His
Have y'all
weird
seen
island
photos
cult.
of that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
What
It's
the fuck?
super creepy.
Because like you
Creepy.
hear like, oh, he's got like a private island or whatever. It's like okay, it's like him and like 10 other people, and then you see the photos, and it's like no, it's like 40 to 80.
Yeah.
Like people
Yeah,
just
it's a lot.
worshiping
It's
on
fucked
him on
up.
his
It's fucking
island.
weird.
Vile. Yeah.
Well, so that was both of y'all's number 2. My number 2 is Texas Chainsaw. I had the order reversed from you guys. I found
It's
it.
a better order.
I found it more offensive than Morbius, just barely.
At least it has the memes.
Just barely, yeah. I don't need to rehash everything y'all have said already. I will just put the weird reminder that Colin Stetson did the score for Texas Chainsaw 2022, and it was another instance where it was much better than the movie that it was accompanying.
Yet it couldn't even save it.
Could not even save it. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw is my number 2. And on the count of 3, do we all just want to say our number
Yes.
1 words? 1, 2, 3. The
Monsters.
I think anybody who's been listening to the show this year will not be surprised by that. We covered the Monsters just a few short weeks ago, and we did declare it as the worst film we've ever talked about on the podcast.
Yep.
On that episode. I think I certainly stand by that.
It's
So,
the worst thing I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah.
I don't know the last time I've seen a movie that
just a
bad.
completely strange, misguided, who is this for, cheap, spirit Halloween ass Rob Zombie jerking himself off into a plastic jack-o'-lantern full of candy corn.
But again, I need to correct. You say it's Spirit Halloween-esque. I've also seen the Spirit Halloween movie that came out this year. And
you're
it's
the
nowhere near
only
as bad.
you're the only person on the
It
planet
sucks. It's
who's
not
seen
good,
that.
but
You're
it's
the only
nowhere near the
person-
level of the Monsters.
Somehow they
It's
got
way less
Christopher
offensive.
Lloyd for it, right?
That's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's got like Christopher Lloyd in it, being Christopher Lloyd, and like it's for children, but like at least it's like nostalgia. That's kind of fun, and it's got like a Disney Channel kind of feel to it. It's very It's very plastic.
Well, the monsters
boring.
the monsters would have you believe that it's also for children,
You'd think.
but I don't. I
What child?
truly don't think that's the
Find me
case.
this-
A truly
child.
demented
Yeah.
child.
Bring me the child. This is for.
Well, enough of the negativity.
Well,
y'all.
Yeah, let's get
before
out of
I do just want to shout out a couple other bad films that
Okay.
didn't quite make
You
it
wanna
into my
shut
bottom.
in.
I want to shut them in. Firestarter, like I said, was my number 6. Don't Worry, Darling was my number 7. Both dookie ass movies. Also want to give a shout out for Halloween Ends, which was bad. Not as bad as Halloween Kills, but a film that easily could have ended up in the bottom 5 if there weren't several other worse movies this year.
Ditto all of that.
Yeah,
could
I'm
not
not-
agree more.
I'm not gonna give clout to any of these bad movies, but
No.
I have the same opinion as you on all of those. So
Okay, well, yes, like you said, enough with the negativity. Only good vibes from here on out.
yes.
Well, until we get to the Poddy Awards.
Oh yeah,
and
sure.
then there's more bad vibes.
And then there's some more. There's some more bad vibes
a
there.
few more bad vibes,
Yeah,
but mostly good vibes.
Yeah, but they're fun bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's get into our top 5 faves of the year. I think there's gonna be a lot of overlap here, at least between Cleveland and I. But Ben, why don't you start us off with your number
Sure.
5?
So my number 5 is a movie we covered on the mid-year catch-up. It's an incredible gore movie. It's one of the best practical effects showcases I've seen in a long time, and a really fun movie and a super confident debut to boot. This movie is, of course, The Sadness by Robert Jabaz. Really amazing movie. It does kind of touch on some of the coronavirus stuff a little directly, where it's a little hit you over the head. But I think the concept overall is really cool and fun. And it has this dark, pitch black sense of humor to it that's really awesome.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Agree with all that. Great
No doubt.
movie.
Yeah. Hanna-Barbarian.
Oh, Barbarian
Yes.
is also my number 5.
Hey, cheers. For reasons that I can get into further up my list, but yeah, I've got like 3 shout-outs. I'll save them until we get through them.
Yeah, we'll do honorable mentions after.
But yeah,
I got a few as
Barbarian,
well.
masterpiece in writing. I'm constantly referencing it with my buddies. I think when it comes to character moments in writing, like and having a good sense of modern audiences, that "what's up" like scene is so perfect. I just adore how you know exactly who he is in that moment. I remember the entire audience gasping and that being very funny to me.
I was laughing.
Oh, same. Yeah. We were all laughing.
I wasn't
you could hear
gasping.
everyone else around us who went like people were like oh, like, and that's great. That's awesome. Like that's how it should be. And movies should shock and make you laugh. And like you should toe that line. It's good. The cinematography was great. While it did leave me wanting more, and there's some other movies on here that I feel the same way about, it still made the list, and it made the list over a number of other very good movies from this year. But
yeah, there were a lot of good ones this year that we'll get into with honorable mentions. Yeah, Barbarian's my number 5 too. Ditto all of that. Really strong performances from everybody involved. Some really like also genuinely like creepy set pieces and moments. Some really like good sort of 80s style sleaze in this movie, but also like a good sense of humor. I think we've seen over the last few years that comedians doing horror is a good combination. So I'm curious and hopeful to see more from Zach Kreger in the future, because Barbarian was dope. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a movie we actually didn't cover on the podcast. It's a movie that came out very recently called The Menu.
Oh, yes. The Menu is dope.
I adored The Menu. I think it's a brilliant satire of pretentious foodie culture, while also really dark and disturbing at times. The performances are great. I love Anya Taylor-Joy's performance in it, as well as
fucking Ray Fiennes.
Ray
man.
Fiennes.
He's good.
it's on the edge of tears, that whole movie.
He has such an amazing performance where he's so self-serious, but also so like sad and kind of menacing at the same time. It's a brilliant,
funny.
Yeah, it's a brilliant performance. An amazing movie. I think if you're a fan of movies like Ready or Not, you'll love The Menu.
Yes.
I had a blast.
Yeah, the menu was going to be one of my honorable mentions, so I'm glad you brought it up, because it didn't make it into my top 5, but it was definitely a highlight of the year, especially a recent one.
Sure.
What's your number 4, Cleve?
Bones and all.
Me too.
Hey, you were right.
Yeah, we're 2 for 2.
2 for 10 on this one. Yeah.
There's one in my top 5 that I know for sure is not in yours, but
I love that like Ben and I had almost exactly all the same worsts, and we're coming up on having one of the same bests. Like between the two, I'm like a weird Venn diagram between the two of y'all, and I love it.
Yeah.
Bones and all, baby. The character stuff. See our episode on it for just all the gushing.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks ago. It's very fresh.
It sat with me really well. I keep like I'll be working or doing something else, and like one of the sequences like involving the cannibalism with our protagonist will come up, and it'll just make me stop, and like I have to still think about like how I feel about it. Like I feel like I'm still, to use a very fitting metaphor, I feel like I'm still digesting this movie. And I
coming off of the menu too.
Coming off of the menu, a lot of eating.
I still think about the rope of hair all the time. Mm-hmm. I will say I saw someone on Twitter say that Bones and All was art house Twilight, and I can't stop thinking about that. But it's much better done.
But it's so much better though.
Yeah.
Well, that is something that I was gonna say to the film's credit, is that like I'm generally pretty cynical, and I don't tend to digest like very sincere like romantic stories well. Like it's just not for me. But I really liked Bones and All. I thought it was very sincere. It was sweet. It was optimistic despite the horror stuff. And I think maybe the sort of edge of the macabre is what I need to enjoy stuff like this, because I don't know if I would like it in a vacuum without the fact that they're nomadic cannibals. I don't know, but I really loved Bones and
I
All.
love the reflection of the Midwest in the movie too. It feels very
Well,
unpretentious.
yeah, well, I mean, and they go. I mean, it's not just the Midwest either. Like, right, they start in Virginia and Maryland, so it starts in kind of like the Rust Belt, and then gradually dips down into the South and Kentucky, and then up into the Midwest. Yeah, I mean,
they even go a little west.
Yeah, to Nebraska towards the end. Yeah, like it's a really great road trip movie that I feel like really well represents the sort of like fringes of like American society. It's a movie that I really hope, because we were talking about recently that it has not done very well in terms of box office. It's a movie that I hope will get a good VOD release soon, somewhere like I mean honestly HBO Max I think would be ideal, so like more people have an opportunity to see it. I'm looking forward to watching it. Yeah,
go support.
Go see Bones and All.
Very good.
What's your number 3, Ben?
My number 3 is Prey.
Hey,
I think
same.
It's an amazing revival of a fantastic action horror series. Amber Midthunder gives an incredible lead performance in it. Dan Trachtenberg is really becoming, a really reliably excellent director between this and 10 Cloverfield Lane. He has a great sense of narrative pacing. I think one of my favorite things about it is we get a lot of Predator stuff.
Yes.
It's not just a ton of talking and like 15 minutes of Predator. It's throughout the movie.
A lot of good action.
And it feels like a classic type of movie where, the beats are very familiar, but it's just executed perfectly. Love this movie. It's my number 3.
Yes.
Is it also your number 3?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. I adored this film. It was really tricky. Like I stopped after making this list and I looked at it and said, damn, Prey is right in the middle of this, and the menu isn't even on it. And I was like, it was really hard, like trying to figure it all out. So I guess I spoiled that, but it was really hard, like trying to figure out like, where do I sit with these films. But Prey, I just absolutely adored it. And I'm glad to see it on your list and others, because like I know it has like the Unreal Engine creatures in it, like all the the birds and the dogs and the coyotes and the snakes. They all look kind of like rough, like they'll look, but like I kind of liked that about it, like the cartoon CG.
The bear, in particular, was a little janky. But I will say, I was really impressed with how much actual practical effects they have.
Yeah, for the Predator too, especially, which is where it really matters.
Yeah, it's worth it just for the one sequence where he fights the colonials, like in that No Man's Land.
Yeah,
there's so many
in like
cool
the burned
bits.
out forest. Yeah.
And what it really got right is the Predator had cool new gadgets.
Yeah,
and that's what you fucking
it's everything you want out of a Predator movie. Yeah, that was another one of my honorable mentions, so glad it gets a nod from you guys as well. My number 3 is Nope, the new Jordan Peele movie. It's a movie that has sat with me really, really well. I've also seen it 3 times now. I saw it twice in the theater, and then I watched it again with a couple of buddies when I was on vacation a couple months ago, and I've enjoyed it more and more each time. It's really subtle in like what it's trying to say without sort of beating you over the head with, well, it's subtle and not in some ways, but it's just like a really great like sort of Jaws style blockbuster movie that is like the perfect blend of being able to enjoy it just on the surface level as like a fun monster movie, but also there being a lot of stuff to read into if you choose to think about it a little bit more in depth.
Much like Prey, like it has a very familiar structure. It's very, very Spielbergian.
Yeah,
but it's just
Jaws.
Executed perfectly.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, number 2 is The Northman.
Nice.
I'm assuming it's probably your guys' number one.
Spoilers.
Not to spoil anything, but I thought this movie was awesome. You know, Robert Eggers is an amazing director, and, you know, this kind of big budget Robert Eggers movie is incredible to see. We're probably not going to see this kind of big budget Eggers movie again for a while, you know, especially because this movie didn't do incredibly at the box office, unfortunately. However, I think this is a monumental achievement. Skarsgård is just incredibly powerful in this movie. All the performances are incredible, whether it's Willem Dafoe or Anya Taylor-Joy or, you know, Nicole Kidman. Just so many good performances, so much good cinematography, just confident filmmaking overall. Just incredible film.
Robert Eggers in a nutshell, man.
Also, Nope.
Your number 2 is Nope.
Yep.
Nice.
And for all the reasons we just said, we can move on.
My number 2 is a film that I knew would only make it into my top 5. That's okay. My number 2 is Crimes of the Future. It is a film that I can 100% understand not being for everybody. It's a very small scale. It's very quiet. It's kind of anticlimactic. But man, I sure loved it. Loved everything about it. It feels like a comfy, cozy movie for me, which is weird to say about a Cronenberg film, but I just have not been able to stop thinking about Viggo Mortensen dressed like a ninja, crouching in alleys going... or fucking Kristen Stewart's weird, twitchy... pervert performance. Yeah, it's everything I love about like late era Cronenberg. I definitely understand not being everybody's thing, but
yeah, it's truly a unique movie. And I will say, if you like Crimes of the Future, I would also recommend seeing Flux Gourmet, because
which I haven't seen.
In terms of themes and ideas, it's somewhat similar.
We should all watch it at some point. Yeah, I actually really like Flux Gourmet. I agree with all of that.
Yeah, my number 1 is Barbarian.
Yeah.
This was probably my favorite theater experience of the past few years.
Oh yeah,
I love movies that continually take me by surprise and go in unexpected places. And this movie's bread and butter is that. You know, I don't think I've heard a theater gasp in unison as many times as in this movie. And, you know, there's those uncomfortable, nervous laughs that people do when things catch them off guard.
Yeah.
I love the look of this movie. I love that long flashback sequence, for example. I love the dark, grimy, you know, sub basement hallways. The production design is excellent. I love how funny this movie is. I just love this movie overall. Can't recommend it more. Amazing movie.
All right, Tease, you want to talk about The Northman?
Yeah.
Let's talk about The Northman.
Well, I think Ben covered a lot of what I have to say about The Northman, but I think for me, The Northman was what Barbarian was for Ben.
Same.
I saw it 3 times in the theater this year because I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
So fucking cool.
It's very like it was something totally new and different from what you normally expect from Robert Eggers, but man, it paid off. He was able to go from something like The Lighthouse with just like a very small scale to actor powerhouse performances, like sort of slow descent into madness, into like a sprawling Viking epic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was, you know, to echo what Ben was saying, just like fantastic performances across the board, beautifully shot. The music, the score is incredible. I still just like have bits and pieces of it that sort of like pop into my head unbidden. Like yeah.
Masterpiece.
My favorite film of 2022.
No, absolutely. It just keeps fucking going. It's incredible. I love Bjork's aesthetic in that, like, those 2 shots she's in.
Yeah, she was great.
Haunting. I love the the little shells in front of the eyes. The soundtrack is really cool, and I love just the fucking Dark Souls crypt fight was just everything I could ask for in a movie.
Tell you what, though, sure did have an annoying online discourse cycle around it.
Sure
fucking did.
Let's not even talk about it. The to summarize the Northman, it's just ooh for 2 hours, and it's awesome, and I love movies like that. So yeah, easy pick Northman for number one.
Sweating and shouting until you finally ascend into Valhalla.
Yep, that's it. That's life.
Yeah. Well, we should do a couple shout-outs for other movies
Honorable mentions,
we enjoyed. I want to.
This was a really good year.
I want to take this time to shout out a few non-horror movies that I really loved this year. You know, I'm sure we'll talk about other horror movies we liked.
Yeah.
So, a few non-horror movies that I would absolutely recommend checking out as soon as possible. One is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
That was a great one.
It's probably
maybe favorite movie of
one
the
of
year.
my top 5 overall this year. Just an incredibly moving, funny, exciting movie. So unique and original. All the performances are great. Check it out. You know, you'll like it.
It's my favorite movie this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really loved it. The other shout out is Triple R. RRR.
Oh,
Still need to see that.
I watched it in the theater.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, I actually watched it recently too.
Yeah, I think it's incredible.
Dude,
it's
we
one of the
agree.
best action movies of the past, 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
I love how anti-colonialist it is.
Yeah.
And this movie,
Bollywood at its best.
it has everything.
Yeah.
It has music sequences that don't suck and feel motivated.
Agreed.
It has action. It has comedy. It has romance. It has, bits of thriller in it. It's gritty and violent and brutal at times. Amazing movie.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I had goosebumps. I forgot about RRR. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's, the director said he was very influenced by Mel Gibson's movies. And you can see it in it. In the showmanship.
For better or worse.
Well, in this case, only for better.
For better.
Yeah, because again, it's very anti-colonial.
Yeah.
Like, it's got good morals.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
I've only
It's
heard
on
amazing
Netflix.
things.
I would definitely recommend
The
it.
only reason that I haven't watched it since they put it up on Netflix is it's only the Hindi version, the Hindi dub, which isn't
That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because that's what was shown in theaters.
Yeah.
Because a lot of
I thought
it's a mix of Hindi and English.
No, because
No, because British colonialists come in.
Yes,
and part is in English, obviously.
I understand that, but when they put it up on Netflix, I was reading about it. The actual film, the non-English stuff, is in a different language that's not Hindi that I'm blanking on the name of, and that when they put it up on Netflix, they only did the Hindi dub instead of the original language that it
weird.
was.
Maybe the theatrical version was different.
The theatrical version was in its original language.
So I watched the Netflix one, and that's likely very true. It sounds like it is. But I will say that I don't feel like I lost too much by that. I really appreciated the language play stuff in the movie because it is a pretty integral part of the film.
I feel like it's a weird gripe for me to have, but
I was lucky enough to see it in theaters. It was like the AMC 15 because I just walked over there when I was living over by there, and the guy working behind the concession counter, I told him I was seeing the movie, and he was like, "Dude, that movie's amazing. I've seen it 3 times, and I've brought all of my friends to go see it."
Isn't it 3.5 hours?
I was about
long?
to say that's the one downside. It is very.
That's the thing. It transcends
movie.
length because it's so good.
Plenty of fucking movies do that. All Martin Scorsese's movies do that. Fucking Seven Samurai is also 3.5 hours, but doesn't feel like it.
Just incredible.
But yes.
In terms of movies that transcend their length,
you're not wrong. It's just funny.
That don't feel as long as they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last non-horror movie that I want to shout out is Ambulance.
Yes.
Maybe the best Michael Bay movie of all time.
I'm not even a big Michael Bay head, and I loved Ambulance.
More than The Rock, more
a
than Pain and Gain even, and I love Pain and Gain. I think The Ambulance is an incredible film. Jake Gyllenhaal gives a great performance. Yahya Mateen.
Yeah, Abdul Mateen. Yeah.
He gives an incredible performance as well. It's a ballsy thriller. Some of the greatest drone shots I've ever seen in any movie.
That is such a big thing. It's one of the only movies that I saw this year where I felt like it was actually like pushing filmmaking forward as a medium, just in terms of like drone photography has been a thing in movies for as long as drones have, but this movie is doing like action drone photography, shit that I have never fucking seen before.
Yeah,
and
the shot where like
where the car ramps,
goes over a ramp and it goes
and the drone
under.
flies under it as it's ramping over. Man,
incredible,
just full of shit like that.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for heist movies, and this is one of the best heist movies of recent years.
Yeah,
huge recommend.
A couple of non-horror movies that I do want to shout out as well. Top Gun Maverick needs no explanation. I think it's better than the original.
Absolutely,
great action movie. Yes, it's imperialist, whatever. Tom Cruise is a fucking superstar, man. And similarly to Ambulance, like filmmaking techniques that I've just never seen before. All of the like in cockpit stuff, incredible,
legendary.
The other movie that I want to shout out on a much smaller scale that I really enjoyed though was 3,000 Years of Longing.
Oh God, it was
the new
so
George
good.
Miller movie, a very small, personal, sincere, sweet film that is really fun and very nicely shot. A lot of nice, like, good use of CG effects and like
small and sincere, but also like so epic. You know,
yeah,
in the same capacity. Like
it's such a comfy movie.
It's comfy, and it has those like weird like OG sci-fi like weird Flash Gordon-y bits with like the weird octopus and stuff like that in the corner. And stuff.
Yeah,
I love that movie. Yes. Mind if I?
Yeah.
Or you got more?
Please. I was going to shout out a couple of horror films that didn't make it in the top 5. Yeah, we should definitely recognize the accomplishments of Ty West this year, X and Pearl, both very high on my list, just didn't quite squeak into the top 5.
I will say, the more I think about Pearl, the more I love it.
Same.
Like,
I still think I prefer X over the two, but I really like both of them a lot.
I think X is a better movie. I think I like Pearl more.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Also want to shout out the new Scream movie. I think we all kind of expected that to not be very good.
Yeah, Scream was awesome.
Turned out really well. And the last one that I do want to give a nod to, even though it's pretty divisive, and I think I probably liked it better than y'all did, I did enjoy Men, the new Alex Garland film.
It's lanky, but I like it.
It's a little pretentious, but man, that last 15 minutes is unforgettable. Not my favorite Alex Garland film by any means, and a film that I think was not super well received this year. Saw a lot of hate on Men. But I did, much like in real life. But I did really enjoy it.
Yeah,
Others,
so,
Cleve?
of course, I had a shout out to X and Pearl as well. And then after that, it is a paragraph that I wrote. I'll just read it. Crimes should be my favorite. I was thinking about it. And I looked at it, and I thought, okay, when it comes to subject matter, the world building, all of that stuff, it should be the top of my list. When it comes to, like, movies that are me... You know, for years on this podcast, I'm not as much of a horror guy, I'm a sci-fi guy. And this movie is all the kinds of sci-fi that I love, directed the way I love it, with actors I love, with a lot of sequences that I really like. So I've been trying to put my finger on why it didn't even make my list. And it's, even though I love everything, from the practicals to the world building, it didn't make me feel a lot. And I know that's the point of the movie. And it's a good point. I like that about the movie. But it still hurt its ranking against all these other ones because just there's so many spectacular bangers that made me feel so much that, like, it's hard for me to say this movie that made me feel nothing. You know, like, it's hard. It's hard for me to equate it. It deserves a lot of praise, and it's an amazing movie, and you should check it out.
That's why it was my number 2.
Absolutely.
Considering your point on that, I think you should talk about Flux Gourmet for a second.
Okay.
Because it's very similar. But I know you liked it a lot more.
So I like Flux Gourmet a lot more than Crimes, because there's a lot more reactivity in the film. There's a lot of feel. Crimes of the Future is about a world where like we hardly feel anything anymore because we've done away with disease and pain, and so like people don't are trying to find new highs there, and that's awesome. Flux Gourmet is full of a bunch of dramatic shitty artists, and it comes from a world that like I'm all too familiar with. And it was
sounds like Velvet Buzzsaw.
No, it was everything I wanted from Velvet Buzzsaw. Absolutely. They're still very different films, but I think this movie executes it even better and more believably for as goofy as it gets. And also, it's fucking hilarious. Flux Gourmet is really funny. It's pulling the pants down on like the fine art, the postmodern fine art.
Some of the best costume design I've seen in any movie this year.
I still need to see
I can't remember the actress's name, but she's Brienne of Tarth in Game of Thrones.
Oh,
she's excellent in that movie.
Gwendolyn something. I
Stacy?
can't. That sounds right.
It's Gwendolyn Stacy, I believe.
Gwendolyn Stacy sounds right. Don't quote me on
yeah,
it.
she's fantastic in it. I love her character. She's just this like domineering like Academy shit lord, and I love everyone in that film. It's great. I want to watch it again.
Well, shall we move on to our Poddy Awards?
Yeah, let me just crack open this Guinness.
So we have this divided into, or Ben rather, who came up with these categories, has divided this into two sections. We're going to do our Poddy Awards for new films first, and then he also put together some categories for sequels that we talked about since we had our year of the sequel theme for our picks. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, we're going to do this like we did last year, where for each category we put forth a nomination and then come to a consensus on one that we want to give the award to.
I think that's the best way to do it.
I think we did that last year and that makes sense. So why don't you start us off, Ben?
So we'll start with new movies. The first category is Best Cinematography. I feel like this is a pretty clear winner. The Northman.
The Northman.
Talk about achievement in cinematography. Just incredible work. Some of those long takes are just mind-blowing. I think of the pillaging scene.
Yeah.
You could pick out any scene in that movie as a standout scene of the year.
What was your nomination, Clave?
I'm going to surprise you. I put Northman at the top of my list. I think it's the best overall movie, and I do think that the cinematography is probably better than Nope, but I put Nope up there. I think about every sequence, and what I love about it is how it's shot.
Nope is very well shot.
Shit, man.
And it's very well shot, but I don't know. I don't think it's as
Northman's. I think Northman's a better.
I think the Northman.
Honestly,
well, I mean,
we're coming to
a consensus on which one deserves it.
Then,
so
the
Northman.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, for sure.
Cool.
So the Northman wins Best Cinematography.
Oh, I do want to put a shout out, and I should have put this in my top shout outs too, but I did want to do a shout out to the rear screen van sequence in Hellraiser. Because I thought that was a really cool shot.
Really cool.
And I do also just want to give out a shout out to Hellraiser. It wasn't as good of like an 80s return to form as Prey, but I still really liked it, and it's just nice that we got two 80s return to form movies this year, and neither of them ate ass.
Yeah, like I said in the episode, it's a mediocre script, executed just perfectly.
Yes.
I
agree.
Okay, so best score. I picked for this one a movie that I didn't love, but a score that was amazing, and that was Men.
Hey, same.
I thought the score for Men was just mind-blowing with the choral stuff.
I have what my note is best score Morbius parentheses have sex.
That's not score. That's soundtrack.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. By Firestarter. No, just kidding. It doesn't fit the movie. Men. It's a in parentheses I have written wanky movie, but it fit, and I love that breathy shit.
All of the choral stuff, the vocal stuff in Men was great, and Men.
It's the score I remember.
I think I get that motif of.
Oh yeah,
stuck in my head just all the time.
Yeah, it's I'm
Stop.
I'm fine. I'm more than happy to give that award to Men. My nomination was for The Northman as well, for the same reason, where it just like keeps getting stuck in my head. Just like Absolutely incredible score. But I almost picked Men before I'm like, no, I think about the Northman score more than I think about the Men score. So happy to give that one to Men.
All right, so best score goes to Men. So next is best performance.
This was
For
a tough
me,
one.
Yeah, there's quite a few options for this one, but for me, I think the most memorable one was Mia Goth in Pearl.
Yeah.
You know, that movie lies on her shoulders, and she gives such an incredible performance in that movie. You know, the end credit sequence when she's just holding a smile for super long.
So good.
Has
Just becomes a
stuck with me
grimace,
like
yeah.
a mind virus. Like, I can't, unsee that. Like, that is stuck in my head constantly.
And also, she was in 2 movies this year.
See,
playing that
my
character.
nomination was also for Mia Goth, but for X, because of the dual role she does in that. And I know that part of it is because she was lathered up under all that old age makeup, but still, the fact that
She can
that
carry
I
past
went
that,
through the
yeah.
whole movie without being able to put together that was her until the credits rolled is just a credit to how well she defined both of those characters in the same movie, and carried it over again into Pearl. What was your nomination, Clay, for best performance?
So I have 3 runner-ups.
There were a lot of really good
yeah.
performances this year.
So one of them is Mia Goth. The next runner-up would have been Kristen Stewart in Crimes of the Future. I love.
I
how
thought
much of a
about that,
pervert she
too.
is. Like, it's so she is like, for someone who has done like mostly like princess roles in movies, kind of like Twilight and Snow White and all that shit. Like, and she's done another of other great roles as well. Like, I'm not trying to like undercut her career, but
I don't think it's fair to say that
she's-
that's mostly what she's done.
I feel like
at this
she's had a
point.
similar, like, renaissance as, like, Pattinson.
Yeah, and deservedly so.
Both
And,
Twilight folks.
I think, but like she's always like known for being like a very like attractive
Flat.
character.
Yeah, but
and-
also flat.
But also kind of
performances.
flat.
Yeah,
And
almost
here,
Natalie Portman.
Portman-esque. Yeah, absolutely. And here, like, I was earnestly creeped out by her, and I gotta fucking respect that. Like, that's hard to do, and she did it really well. But my main,
she was my runner-up too.
yeah,
actually.
my main pick, and like, let's go, ladies, was Amber Midthunder.
Very good performance
Just
as
some
well.
real powerhouse
Performance,
performances
yeah.
this year.
Great action performance as well.
Like, yeah, so it's my notes for her. We're gonna give it to Mia Goth, but my notes for Amber Midthunder are she held her own against the memory of the full cast of Predator in the eyes of many people.
Yeah,
Like,
that's a great point.
Like, come on, right? Like, and again, this is like coming off of like so many of these other like Mary Sue like movies with like fucking Captain Marvel and other shit like that, where like all of the fucking nerd bro dudes and everyone out there are just ready to jump on like any like female action star right now. The fact that she was able to like win over everybody in that respect, because like Prey did well and like it was well received. As far as I'm concerned, like physical performances.
well, she won over everybody except the Chuds, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, but like even like the drugs, like I saw very little hate. Maybe I'm in
No,
the
there
wrong
was
circles,
tons
but,
of it.
Yeah, fuck them.
It was all the Chuds being like, it's unbelievable that a woman would be able to fight a predator.
Yeah, they're beyond.
there was
saving,
there was a lot of
but like
that.
Chud adjacent people, like people like I still.
People who appreciated the movie all pretty resoundingly praised her performance.
and again, you're never gonna win over
deservedly
those
so,
fuckers,
yeah.
and who cares? I would honestly, I'm not gonna applaud the movie for winning over those fuckers anyway, because they don't. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But the point is that in the odds of many, like, yeah, she was able to hold up against the memory of the entire full cast of Predator. Like, physical performances are as important to me as just dramatic acting, and she did great at both. Big fat ass shout out to Amber Midthunder. Just kick ass. Amber Midthunder, Kristen Stewart, and Mia Goth, y'all fucking killing it.
Yeah, Kristen Stewart was my big runner-up too. The thing that really put Mia Goth over for me is because Kristen Stewart's performance is is like such a supporting role in Crimes of the Future, and Mia Goth is
She's in
all
2
through
movies.
all throughout.
3 characters,
yeah,
2
so
movies.
the award for best performance goes to Mia Goth. We'll call it X/Pearl.
Yeah.
the
I do
combination.
want to give a shout out to Skarsgård in the North.
Alexander Skarsgård is
No.
fantastic.
What
yeah.
a body
Again, physical
transformation.
Nicole Kidman and Ethan Hawke, like all the people in the
Yeah,
Northman,
for sure.
really, and Barbarian
Joy.
too.
Yeah, Barbarian.
Yeah.
Man.
Bones and all.
Okay, well, that's a good segue. Scariest sequence in a movie this year?
Mm-hmm.
That goes, to me, that goes to the lower basement sequence in Barbarian, where we get the death of Skarsgård.
Mm.
You know, that takes...
The other Skarsgård.
Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, Bill dies, you know, and it took me and the rest of the theater-going audience when I first saw it by such surprise that there was like an audible gasp throughout the theater. And how amazing is that?
It's
like,
shocking.
That's an experience you don't always get when like the whole theater gasps or screams. Like, I feel like people talk about, you know, audiences screaming at horror movies a lot, but I don't feel like it happens much, you know, realistically.
No.
That is a sequence where people were legitimately surprised and like audibly gasped. And I have to give it to that.
Clave?
I sat down and I just kind of closed my eyes and I kind of ran through all the movies and what sequences in the spot in the theater at that time made my stomach turn, you know, and like fall. Like, and for me, that was the stables sequence in Nope, which ends up being a fake out.
Oh.
Like, and that's what's so cool about it, is even though it isn't an act, it isn't like a scare of consequence, it's the one that in the moment I was the most scared. Like when you see these weird silhouettes of aliens and then one comes out and there's another one and they're walking towards him. I was totally in the moment and utterly terrified. Earnestly. Like it sucked me right in. And then the monkey sequence at the beginning too is like so fucking spooky. And yeah, I think that Nope had some of the scariest scares there. The Barbarian, I tend to think of the shot where the Barbarian, like the creature, like the incest goblin, like just comes down the hall and then recedes. I think about that shot a lot. But for me, like when I was watching that scene in the movie, I was thinking like, oh my god, like the camera effects are so good. It looks so good. I was like so caught up in the spectacle of it, I wasn't scared. But for that scene in Nope, I was earnestly scared.
See, my nomination is also from Nope, but it's a different sequence. The scariest one for me is the Star Lasso experience.
Yeah.
When Jupe and everybody there gets
Swamp.
sucked up into the creature,
So spooky.
and just like it coming down over them, and then like the hard cut to black, and you think that like it's going to like not show you what happens, and then it comes in from black, like inside the creature, just like seeing all of the people getting sucked up into it, and then like passed through like its gullet or whatever, and the texture and the sound and the screaming, and it's just like
the element of that sequence that I love the most is it's so darkly shot that you can't completely tell what's going on.
That's what makes it scarier is
Yeah.
like, and it's so tight too, like it's like you feel claustrophobic and constrained like the people do, and like the sound design just does so much of the work there. And that sequence I find legitimately stomach churning. All 3 times I've seen that movie this year, it always gives me the willies.
Yeah, I'm partial to all 3 of these. I'm kind of biased towards Barbarian, but I think that scene is probably the other scariest scene, you know. It's one that's really stuck with me from Nope.
All right, let's give it that one then.
Yeah, let's give
Star
it
Lasso experience,
Star Lasso
scariest sequence in Nope.
that one.
Most unnecessary.
Yes, sequel / remake, as we talked about.
Yes, or a remake, yeah.
So
These are new sequels that we
Yes.
covered this year. Not
yes,
we'll
new
get into our
sequel / remake.
Of which there were plenty.
tons.
And because we expanded it into remakes, I'm kind of gonna go against my general rule of thumb, and that's to, you know, remake mediocre movies from the past to make them good. And this is for Firestarter. You know, I think...
Oh, so you're saying like usually it's good form to do that?
Yeah,
Like,
it's good
Yeah.
form to remake a bad movie rather than a good movie, because that way you can do
Taking
it
another
right.
shot at it.
But
yeah.
if you're gonna remake a mediocre to bad movie and make it also bad to mediocre, you're just wasting everyone's time. Firestarter is a great example of that.
Yeah, for me it was Texas Chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw for me too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just the
Firestarter was bad, but again, Texas Chainsaw was more offensive to me.
Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
legacy of Texas.
Yeah.
I think that makes total sense. Okay, so Texas Chainsaw gets that one. Hottest Mess. So there's so many choices.
There are a lot
go
of
with
things.
with
Yeah.
this.
I think y'all know mine.
Firestarter would be a good one for the pun.
Firestarter would be great.
Great.
There's so many that would be great. The thing is, the hottest mess, in my opinion, and this might surprise y'all, but I think it's Morbius. Because it's such a hot mess that it became a meme. Like, it's hard to become that hot of a mess. You know, Jared Leto has become a meme because he's such a shitty actor.
I will say,
like, that's incredible.
part of that is due to the fact that it's pop culture Marvel shit. I will put some of that on. I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, his performance and all it did, like, cement it. The Venom movies didn't get that treatment.
I think Jared Leto's meme status contributed to Morbius being such a meme more so than vice versa, because Jared Leto as a shitty actor has been a meme since Suicide Squad.
But I also think about, like, that awful ADR scene.
Yeah.
And the have sex scene.
You were not wrong that it's a hot mess.
Yeah.
I'm certain
Definitely.
No, I mean
that was probably it wasn't the one I ended up going with, but it was a close second.
And if we're looking at the public scale, I mean, yeah, like it would be Morbius. But for me, I don't think this is a surprise, but I was just so fascinated by how good an evil Jordan Peterson premise could have been that I got to give it, for me, to Don't Worry, Darling.
Also
a great pick.
Also, another great pick. I'm really surprised you didn't go with is Orphan First Kill.
Another hot mess.
Another
Again,
hot mess.
Like, this is
or Lanky Kong First Kill.
This is
long arms.
a category that has so many good choices.
Yes.
Even the Munsters.
The Munsters was mine. The Munsters is mine mostly because of just, first of all, how fucking ugly and cheap it looked, but also on top of that, how tonally confusing it is, and like who is the audience supposed to be.
I just think back to that original trailer that they put out, how it might have been the worst trailer I've ever seen ever.
Really set the tone for the movie.
Audio.
I think for me, I gotta go with Don't Worry, Darling out of the three. Like, I think, you know,
well, all the story behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes stuff.
It sounds like production was literally
like all the streaming matches you hear about. Like, that's some hot mess.
The adultery and whatnot. I'll relent and give it to Don't Worry, Darling. I think that's fair.
Hottest mess goes to Don't Worry, Darling.
A lot of hot messes this year.
Of hot messes.
Any
of them are very viable contenders.
So next is most overrated.
Oh yeah, I got one.
For me, this was The Black Phone.
Same.
Interesting.
I think there was a lot of critical praise around this movie,
and I don't get it.
Didn't get it. Yeah, exactly.
I don't get it either.
Because I think this is a perfectly okay movie.
Thank you.
And
Nothing wowed me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I agree with that, and you know, I'll probably end up letting y'all have that one. But my nomination for most overrated, I think, is a little bit of a spicy take, and I want to make it clear before I say it that I don't think this is a bad movie. I just think it's overrated for what everybody said, and that's Mad God. I liked Mad God. I did.
I definitely agree with that too.
I think Mad God is a really incredible technical achievement, but Jesus Christ, after all the years of hype and the way that everybody was talking about this movie, that it's like the greatest fucking thing ever made, I didn't get much out of it outside of the technical.
That's what's so fucking wild, right? Like,
outside
we're
of
both we love grimdark, warhammery shit.
Yeah,
and like high art, like repulsive.
Yeah.
You know, like weird spectacle stuff, and I feel the same.
I just
way.
needed something
I've seen it twice now, and I still
ground
can't.
me in it a little bit more. And I do, you know,
It doesn't take me on the journey. It just
I
shows
was
me the journey.
overall positive on it. I think I gave it a 3.5 out of 5,
Yeah,
which is like a
it's
good
fine.
score. But like, I've seen so many people say that this is like their film of the year, and
Honestly,
it just comes nowhere close
I
for me.
love that pick. I
do too.
am
I hadn't thought
partial
about it,
to
but
give
yeah.
it to Mad God.
Okay.
Because
It's funny, we both picked Black Phone, but we're both like, yeah, probably Mad God.
is definitely overrated as well, but I think
I haven't seen nearly as much
the
praise for the Black
flowery
Phone.
praise of Mad God, especially because it's been in production for so long.
Yeah, for so many
You know,
years.
it's ridiculous.
And I want to say too, like with the Black Phone, like there was even like a Red Letter Media episode about it where like Jay Bauman like praised it for like an hour, and the whole time I was like,
I just don't get it.
well, and the thing is too is like they even had a point like on that episode where they were talking about that, like, you know, with the bros not getting it and stuff like that. But every point that I've heard about Black Phone was something that not only do I understand in that moment, but I understood while I was watching it, and I just didn't think it was that great.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with you. Like I said, I think that that's a great pick.
but no, let's give it to Mad God.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Mad God is a fine movie, and I am glad that people got so much out of it.
Yeah.
All right, so next category is most underrated. For me, this goes to The Sadness. I feel like this movie has completely gone under the radar, but
good choice.
it is one of the greatest gore movies I've seen in a long time. And, you know, again, it's such a great practical effects showcase, that I think more people need to see it. And it's an extreme movie, so it's not for everyone. But it's really well done for what it is.
True. Great pick.
Wholeheartedly agree. There's so many great shots, and I need to watch that one again. For me, I have in parentheses rant : I talked to a lot of people about Nope.
Wait, you think Nope for most underrated?
Yes, because I talked to a lot of people about it, and and it's the thing that has frustrated me the most. Like, I've had a lot of conversations with folks, and I've seen a lot of takes on movies from folks. Like, Nope was loved by a lot of people, but like, I got a surprising number of reactions from people who just didn't get the Spielberg part about it, and that they just wanted like Get Out 2, and they were like, I wasn't scared. I kept hearing like I just didn't think it was scary, or I didn't get it. I don't understand that, because Spielberg is like
What's
made
to
to
get?
be easy to get. Exactly.
Sky
Spielberg
jellyfish.
is very easy to get. And I just feel like these people wanted Get Out Part 2, and I hate that people are trying to fucking pigeonhole Jordan Peele. Get Out is fantastic, but let the man make something different. He did, and it ruled. And like, I just feel like that, like, you know, Nope did okay in the box office, right? Like,
Yeah.
Nope did very well.
Yeah, it did very well, and, you know...
And I think
in fairness,
received mostly universal
to your
praise.
point, like, I do think I think it might have the lowest letterbox rating of the 3 Jordan Peele movies.
yeah.
I could see that. I have seen
what
a
I
lot
heard.
of people say that it's their least favorite.
I love it.
I'm unsure where it sits in my ranking now, honestly, because it has really grown on
It's
me
my
a lot.
favorite of his 3. I think it's awesome.
Honestly,
It might be my favorite
might
of his
be
3.
my least favorite, but I still really
But
like
it's like,
it.
yeah, I mean, I've given on all 3 of his movies on the podcast, I've given a 5 out of 5.
Yeah.
And so
The other
it's
thing I
like,
kept hearing people too is that like they were mad that it didn't have commentary in it, and I was like, one, it absolutely did.
it has tons.
There's tons, but you know what it was though is that
It's just
I
less.
think I just
It's
talked to a lot of-
it's less racial commentary
Exactly.
than
And-
his other movies.
And I think I talked to a number of people who just like they wanted their weird white guilt bullshit watching it, and
Yeah.
it's like that's fine. Get Out is very good, but like
and Us.
yeah, but like I don't know. I just think it's a really dumb expectation to put on a director.
Yeah.
Like
No, I agree with you. I mean,
And
honestly,
that's just what pissed me off the most, though. I think that like your choices for most underrated are much better. I got my rant out of the way. That's all I wanted.
yeah, I think honestly, like I have seen largely universal praise for Nope, outside of like a few naysayers here and there. Honestly, if I had to put it anywhere, I would say that Nope is maybe the most rated film of the year.
Good. I hope so.
My pick for most underrated is Bones and All. What really cemented that for me was the fact that it only did like $200,000 opening weekend domestically, which still doesn't seem right to me. I don't know how that's fucking possible. Like, it's not a high budget movie, but like, Jesus Christ. Although, that being said, it did just come out. I think it's probably still in theaters while we're recording this. Maybe not by the time this comes out. So it might be a little bit too early to really say that it's underrated, but I haven't heard fucking anybody talk about it other than
my friends,
us.
like, go and see it. You know, like, you gotta check it out.
Other than you two, I have not heard a single person say anything about Bones and All since it came out.
I gotta say, you know, I respect both of those choices, but I think the movie that's going most under the radar is The Sadness. I don't think I've heard anyone talk about that movie.
I mean, including us, we didn't even like put it in our tops. So like, it was kind of underrated by us too.
I'm fine giving that to The Sadness.
Yeah, that's very fair. Like, we should give The Sadness something. It was an incredible movie.
Sure.
Yeah,
and we shout out for sure. Like,
so that was
awesome.
all of the new movie potties.
All right. So next we have a few more categories, but these are specifically related to our sequel picks from this year.
Year of the Squeakquel.
Year of the Squeakquel, not new movies.
Yes. So let's start off with most unnecessary sequel. For me, this was Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Hey, me too.
You know, Blair Witch 1 is such a great singular film. And I know they were trying to do something different with this movie, and for the most part, it fell flat. So.
Yeah, terribly so. Yeah, ditto that. What was yours, Cleve?
Candyman 2 is mine.
Really?
I liked it. I know, we just did an episode on it. I still feel the same I did. But
it is pretty unnecessary, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, my specifically wrote, fun enough, but definitely not needed. Like,
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that applies to a number of the sequels we talked about this year.
Yeah, same with Predator 2. Like, it's too charming, though, like, so it's fine.
Predator 2 is great. Predator 2 is great. That is, like, I mean, sure, you didn't need to make a sequel, but if you did, and it's fun, and it's good, then it's not unnecessary. You pulled it off. Yeah. I'll fight for Blair Witch 2.
Yeah, I think it easily wins here.
Book of Shadows.
Okay, so biggest surprise is next. I'll let you guys start, actually.
My biggest surprise was Gremlins 2. Now, I'd heard it was great and weird as fuck. Like, everyone loves Gremlins 2. There's a whole Key and Peele skit about it. Like, I went in knowing this movie's going to be weird, but it's probably going to be great. But nothing can prepare you for Gremlins 2. So I was still, like, even still, I was like, holy shit, this movie's awesome. Like, every scene, and I was just so taken by, like, how great Gremlins 2 is.
Gremlins 2 might have been biggest surprise for me if I hadn't seen it before.
You get it?
Which I had. But for me, the biggest surprise was The Cat, which is kind of an unofficial sequel, another Wisely movie, sort of an unofficial sequel to The Seventh Curse. But
I think that's a great pick.
I was not expecting the places that shit would go. The alien cat.
Yeah, I think my pick is The Cat as well. Considering it might be my favorite movie that I've seen this year.
Really?
It stuck with me.
It's so much fun.
I desperately want one of the boutique Blu-ray distributors to put out a Blu-ray of it.
Do like a Vinegar Syndrome
because
release? Yeah.
It's only gotten like shitty TV rips and like DVDs. And like this movie deserves as much attention, if not more, than Ricki-Oh or The Seventh Curse.
Wholeheartedly agree. That weird all the weird monsters are so cool. Like Bloodborne-esque.
The Cat was great.
So creative. Actually, my buddies and I from movie night, we quote like the bit where he puts the grenade in the guy's mouth and he goes, "Bye bye." We do that to each other like all the time. It's so funny. Yeah, no, definitely give it to The Cat for sure.
Sweet.
I think that's a fantastic pick. So next is biggest letdown, and for me, that's Cabin Fever 2. You know, Ty West has had such a great year this year with X and Pearl, that to know that he did an awful Cabin Fever remake is just such a letdown, because he has so much potential as a director to do something fun and interesting with that franchise.
Cabin Fever 2 and Blair Witch 2 were both contenders for me for biggest letdown. but for me, it was Cube 2, Hypercube.
Oh, an excellent choice.
That's a great
Because
pick, too.
I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to make a fun follow-up to Cube. Like, the premise is so simple, and the idea of doing Cube, but also with, like, space-time bending, like, that seems like it writes itself.
Yeah, it's
But
fun.
they managed to make it confusing and stupid and ugly, like just all the fucking white instead of like the colors and the bad CG.
So I actually went to show Hypercube to everybody at movie night, and it was kind of late, and like we all just kind of got tired, and we just gave up on finishing it through.
Yeah.
And I didn't even feel the need to be like, no, we gotta get to the end. Cube 2's terrible. It was just like, yeah, this sucks. Like,
No,
let's
it's
just
like,
stop on-
yeah,
this is such a sin.
15 minutes in, you know it sucks, and
you're just there.
nothing about it sucks any more or less through the rest of the movie.
But we were constantly throughout the movie singing the Donkey Kong theme, but with Cube 2.
Hypercube.
It's not very good, and that's what it is. You know, like they're going on. But yeah,
What's your
Cube
biggest
2 was-
letdown?
my biggest letdown was the same as Ben's, actually. Now, over time, unlike you guys, my opinion on the original Cabin Fever has gone down since I first saw it.
Interesting. I think it's
Boo.
a great movie
Yeah.
still. Eli Roth,
All right, calm
underrated director.
Calm down. But like, yeah, but at least I can remember Cabin Fever 2 or Cabin Fever 1, right? Like, it's got pancakes, it's got all the fun sequences, all the kills.
Yeah, he's a professor
Yeah.
of being a dog.
Yeah, like, there are
Faced.
yeah, there's some fun energy with it. It's good. I really enjoyed watching it with you guys. That I cherish. That I still like about the movie. But man, I gotta tell you, I had to look up a trailer to remember Cabin Fever 2.
Yeah,
I
barely
could
remember
not-
Cabin Fever 2.
Like, and as soon as I did start to watch the trailer and I was seeing scenes that I had definitely seen before, I was like, oh yeah, this was lame.
Just
there was
like-
nothing.
And to think Ty West, of all people, directed
Yeah,
it.
what a letdown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when he was like younger than we are now.
But that was still after he had directed, like, House of the Devil.
Did it come after House of
I'm
the Devil?
pretty sure. I gotta look this up.
No, I think Cabin Fever 2 happened
I gotta
before.
look this up, man.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could give it to Cab 2. I could.
Yeah,
I could
yeah, I
give it
know,
to
I'm-
Blair, but
I'm fine giving it to, since both you guys picked Cabin Fever 2. It was a huge letdown, so I'm very happy to give it to that one.
Yeah, this came out after House of the Devil.
What? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, insane.
yeah.
And it was the next movie he did, actually.
We probably
after
talked
House
about
of
this on the episode, but what?
Yeah.
Love to Ty West, but fuck Cab 2.
Jesus
Like, that movie-
Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a letdown.
What a letdown.
Okay,
Okay, so next is Hottest Mess.
Cabin
Again,
Fever 2 for
there's-
me.
There's a good few choices for this. For me, Silent Hill Revelation. You know, it's... What a fucking mess, dude. Look at
It is a
the
mess,
awful accent work in it. Look at the awful CG. Look at the fucking incoherence of it all. Just
Yeah,
complete hot mess.
you're not wrong.
I have in parentheses on my pick, Silent Hill are terrible movie, but I don't find it fascinating anymore. And I feel like that's really important in a hot mess, you know, you can't look away. And with Silent Hill 2, I don't even want to think about it. I want it away from me. I'm not fascinated by it. I never want to go back to it ever again. I regret picking it. I think that picking Silent Hill did a lot of hurt on this podcast.
Did a lot of harm.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of harm. There's a lot of pain, and I think this is a good moment.
You
for
have
me to-
amends to make.
This is a good moment for me to just formally apologize.
Publicly apologize.
I am publicly
yes.
apologizing for picking Silent Hill Revelations. I still think it's a funny episode, but I'm sorry I did that to you guys, and it didn't bring me the joy I was hoping it would. I thought that by picking Silent Hill Revelations, there would be some Schadenfreude there, that I would get some joy out of your suffering, and I didn't. I just felt bad, and your suffering made me hurt also. And I really, boys, I'm really sorry that I picked that movie.
Fuck Silent Hill Revelation.
Fuck
All my
Silent Hill
homies
Revelation.
hate Silent Hill
Yeah, all my
Revelation.
homies hate Silent Hill Revelation. Blair 2 is my pick, but I think we can just...
What was yours, Ben?
Silent Hill.
Oh, Silent Hill Revelation. Okay, yeah, we'll give it to that.
Okay.
Was that yours also?
No, mine was Cabin Fever too.
Oh, yeah, but we're...
Because it's a fucking hot mess, but I'm fine giving it
Yeah.
to Silent Hill.
So next is scariest film. For me, this is Aliens. Even
Yes.
though it's an action horror, like, James Cameron is such a great filmmaker to the point where he can make action horror legitimately scary. I think of the scene where they poke their head up into the ceiling and they see all the xenomorphs crawling towards them.
Yeah.
That is legitimately terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
And probably the standout sequence
Yeah,
of
you know,
any movie.
This one, I also picked Aliens. I think this one was kind of difficult because I don't think any of the sequels we watched this year were particularly scary.
They were fun.
And I think most of them were fun. Some
not
of them,
scary.
yeah. Well, and I think that's sort of an inherent quality of a horror sequel. I can't really think of many horror, like direct horror sequels that are like scary. They all tend to be more like fun or campy. Because, you know, then you're removing the horror of the unknown, right? So, but yeah, I'm with you. Even though it's really more of an action film and isn't scary in the same way that the original Alien is, of the ones we had to choose from, definitely Aliens.
Yeah, let's give it to...
Alien.
Aliens? All right.
You know, my best is also Aliens.
Also Aliens.
You know, James Cameron, man.
Also Aliens.
What
It was-
a great director.
It was that or Gremlins too. I both think they're pretty perfect
Yeah.
films, but fucking Aliens.
Gremlins
yeah,
is also-
hands
So,
down.
I do want to note, I did think we were going to be doing 5, so I'll just prattle mine off real quick.
Sure.
From the top, we've got Aliens, then Texas 2, then Gremlins 2, then Nightmare 3, then Vampire Hunter D. Those were my...
Yeah, those probably would have. My top 5 probably would have been similar. Maybe
I
not that
saw-
order, but yeah.
Bit of a tangent, but I actually saw that Vinegar Syndrome put out a Blu-ray of Texas Chainsaw 2.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it has
Nice.
a really
Yum.
cool cover and everything,
Hell
and a
yeah.
bunch of bonus features.
Vinegar
Definitely
Syndrome's great.
pick that up if you're a fan of Texas Chainsaw 2.
And physical
I
media.
think we all
Yeah.
know what's coming next.
Worst Silent Hill
Silent Hill
Revelation.
Revelation.
This is
Yeah.
where I have in my notes, parentheses, formal apology. Like,
Yeah, it was-
I need to
It was
apologize for
it was
that.
brutal. Yeah, it was. It's
No redeeming quality.
no redeeming qualities. It's one of only a handful of films on the podcast that I've given the lowest score possible.
Honestly,
of a half
one of
star.
the few movies that could be arguably worse than The Munsters.
Yeah, arguably. I think if you put a gun to my head and said, right now you either have to watch Silent Hill Revelation or The Munsters again, and you can't look at your phone.
And you'd have to put a gun to your head.
And you'd have to put a gun to my head, but I'm gonna stand here. I'm gonna hold this gun to your head for the next 2 hours, and you can't look at your phone, and you can't look away. Either Silent Hill Revelation or The Munsters. I would take Silent Hill
I
Revelation.
would just say, shoot me.
Just
If that's an option, I'm absolutely taking that. But
the
I'm
bullet.
I'm assuming that's a coward's way out,
True,
and that I
fair.
have to
That's fair.
I have to make the Sophie's choice, and it's Silent Hill Revelation. But yeah, so that's our best and worst. We're both unanimous.
How
So
about that?
well,
Yeah, I'm not too surprised, honestly, looking at them and their renown. So yeah, my others, real quick, were so Silent Hill, Blair 2, Cube 2, Hypercube, Descent 2, and The Invasion.
yeah,
Yeah,
those
the invasion.
Yeah, these were really bad.
the invasion was stinky. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much all of those probably would have been down there for me as well. Definitely Cube 2 and Blair Witch 2. Blair Witch 2 probably would have been my worst if we hadn't watched Silent Hill Revelation. Man,
Yeah.
what a fucking awful movie.
My bad
Well,
on that one.
Well, you know, we started with the negative and we ended with the negative, but there was a lot of really good stuff in between.
Yeah, we gave a lot of good movies their flowers.
Yeah, I think
you know?
so. I think overall, this was a good year of movie watching, both new movies and the stuff that we picked for our sequels. Watched a lot of great movies. I had way more good times watching movies this year than I did bad.
Yeah.
The bad ones are memorable.
With that
though.
said, I'm excited to exit the year of the Squeakquel.
Yes,
And
give us
talk
a little
about
bit.
other movies.
Give us a little bit more freedom. Yeah, it certainly. I don't think we quite scraped the bottom of the barrel.
No. There were plenty of bad and plenty of good movies that we skipped over. You know,
Yeah.
we could easily talk about Rosemary's Baby or Saw 2 and have plenty to talk about. But
we also could have talked about Piranha 3 Double D, or what else? The Fly 2, or there was
The Hitcher 2.
The Hitcher 2.
Pet Cemetery
Pet
2.
Cemetery. Yeah, we dodged some bullets for sure, and I think our listeners did as well. But that's it for our year in review. Next week we're going to be looking ahead to 2023, and we'll be doing our annual predictions episode.
Well as revealing the winner of 2022's prediction.
Yes, exactly. You've put together how many movies?
23.
23?
I was being cheeky.
Oh, because 2023.
Yeah.
23 new movies that we will be predicting and probably talking about on the show in 2023. Join us next week to hear our predictions on those. We'll do a real quick sponsor before we wrap up.
Did you almost say squancer?
Squancer.
I kind of heard that in your voice.
Real quick squancer. Well, I was still coming off a quick as I was going into
Quick
sponsor.
yeah,
so the
quick
a real quick squancer.
That's right, and that would be that piece of shit, Gary. God
Gary,
damn it, Gary. You're always
Fuck.
fucking piece of shit. Fuck you, Gary.
I've never known a good Gary.
Fuck you, Gary. Except
Every-
for you, Gary.
every
Listening.
Gary-
Not you.
Unless
Sweet Gary.
there are no good Garys unless you're a Gary that listens to this podcast. And if that's you, thank you for sponsoring the episode.
Thanks, Gary.
And I definitely don't have a problem with you, Gary. But that other bastard Gary.
fucking
that
Gary.
fucking piece of shit,
Oh
Gary.
my god.
He deserves
Gary.
everything that's coming to him.
Everything and more. Watch yourself. That Gary. We'll wrap up real quickly. If you like the show and you've been with us a whole year, or if you're new, leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. You can become a patron at patreon.com/podpeoplepod, where you'll get some goodies like access to our Discord and early episodes and stuff like that. Shout out to honorary pod boys Sam Simon and Zach Confer. Thank you guys for your picks this year. Y'all both gave us some really good, interesting movies to talk about. I still think about The Prophecy all the damn time.
Oh, same.
That weird fucking movie.
I know it was last week, but Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
Nightmare on Elm
man.
Street 3. Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
What a classic.
So, looking forward to more Patreon picks in the new year. You can also follow us on Twitter at PodPeoplePod and at letterboxd.com/PodPeoplePod, where you'll find a list of all the films we've talked about on the show with our average ratings and links to those reviews. You can follow me on Twitter at SomeSpookySnake and streaming at twitch.tv/SomeSpookySnake, monthly Spooky Saturday streams.
You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Sheets.
And you can find me kind of third hand via DreadXP. If you go check out all their super cool games, most recently, I guess Mirror Forge is out. We've got some other ones on the way. Go check out Mortuary Assistant. Get hyped for Sucker for Love 2. Get hyped for, of course, get hyped for Creep Show. We got that. We got get hyped for Outsiders. Go check it all out. Dread Delusion. There's so many cool fucking games. So many cool games we got.
Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us in 2022, the year of the sequel. And we'll put this year to rest and look into the future next week with our 2023 predictions. Bye.
Ayifuni ikhadi ifuni cash. Accept, put my jens. Put my best a best, put my ten a ten. Or put my spend a spend. Have sex, excel. Or put my jens a jens. Put my best a best, put my ten a ten. Or put my spend a spend. Have sex, excel. Off the mats.
Full of fun. Full of fun.
Off the mats.
Full of fun.